Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Marquette, and we're so glad you're with us for this episode of Stay Curious. I have these ladies with me. To my right's Amy Matthews and Michelle DeVos. Hello, ladies. How are you all today? On Artemis Day, we're going to launch a big
Yay!
rocket. Amy is the Public Information Officer for the Titusville Police Department, and Michelle DeVos is her assistant, volunteer assistant there.
Yes.
And we're so glad you took a moment out of this busy day. Things are starting to ramp up here in the afternoon for a 104 launch of the largest rocket built to leave the surface of the Earth. And about time, isn't it?
We are so excited. Well, thank you for having us first.
You're
We
welcome.
always love coming on, and we always want to stay curious. One thing, we're just so excited that this is another opportunity, and I am feeling pretty good about tonight. Well, this morning, early morning.
Yeah,
I think
am
it's going
too,
to go.
Amy. I think
I feel
everything's-
pretty good.
Yeah. Behind us here is a gorgeous screenshot of the photographers out there. Gives you a behind the scenes look of them setting up their remote cameras. They're not going to stand there and take the photos. That's way too close. They have ground sensing or sound sensing equipment on there that trip their shutters, but it gives you an idea how close they are. And thank you, MarQ for sharing that photo. That really kind of puts it in perspective. These
I
are
know.
pretty shots we hope to
That's
see.
a fantastic picture, too. I love it.
In there. Amy is born and raised here in Titusville, Florida. Not so sure about Michelle, but I know your husband's working on the Artemis launch.
He is.
You're kind of a little excited around the house now.
Very
Finally,
excited.
the day's here.
Yes, he's very excited, very optimistic tonight.
Good. And of course, Charlie Blackwell Thompson is the launch director, which in itself is a great thing. A woman launching in charge of the shuttle. Mike Linebach's a good friend of ours. He handpicked her,
Wonderful.
and we're just I feel good about the whole thing. But what we're here to talk to them about is, well, let's look at a couple other pictures here. Some other pretty pictures we have. We want to give a shout out to our artist Chris Callie, who did this beautiful work of art.
Wonderful.
Chris's
Very nice.
father was one of the first artists allowed on Kennedy Space Center in 1964 for
Oh,
Gordon
wow.
Cooper's launch.
Wow.
And so he's a
Very
second
nice.
generation space artist, and that's a collage that Chris has put together with a photo of our friend Mark Usiak there. And there's a picture of what it looks like on the pad the day before
Beautiful.
yesterday.
Mhm.
All right, close up of the Orion capsule.
Looking good.
Looking good. And then I walked around a little bit today, Amy. This was taken just a few hours ago. There's somebody first in line. And I love it. These people all get out there. If you can see the Artemis rocket, Marty, is just to the right of his black tripod there. If
Yeah,
you could
I
point
see
that
it.
out.
Is that at Spaceview Park, Veterans Park?
Yep, that's
Mhm.
just right
Yes.
there. Is
Yep.
the 9 miles away is pad 39B. And the gazebo out there. So nice to have them back after Irma
Yes.
Those are
tore 'em
nice.
down
I'm so glad
up
too.
there. And so people are getting there ready for, there's the Max Brewer Bridge is just in the upper right-hand corner. Amy's going to be talking about that. But there's some early birds, and they're going to be disappointed about 12:30 when people want to stand in front of them. I've seen it happen, and so have you, Amy,
Yeah,
probably.
someone's gonna end up in the water.
Yeah, they think they're just going to spread their feet out there, and nobody's going to come in there when that big wave of people come from Orlando about 12 o'clock tonight in there. But that's the Harbor Point condos, and then you see the Max Brewer Bridge that goes over to the Merritt Island Wildlife Refuge and the north end of the Kennedy Space Center. Yep, thank you, Marty, right there. And so I was out also early. People have already staked their property claim out there. That's across from the Mexican restaurant
Right.
there. And we got some damage from Ian out there at that beautiful little park, unfortunately.
Yeah,
So
you know,
looks
and
like they're already jumped on it, though.
we're trying to get it fixed right now. I know the city's hard at work. We're always trying to recover from, any tropical storms or hurricanes. And, we got the double whammy the last 6 weeks. So, but I'm sure they'll be on it. And it's a great resource and something nice that all the launch viewers can watch coming over from either out of state or out of city. And it's, a very nice place to watch the launch.
Tell us about just pulling off the side of the road, Amy, along Route 1 there. There's some people are charging $40 to
I
park
was
over
seeing
there.
that. I hope that's private property.
Yeah,
Just want to
didn't look like it to me.
the one thing we want to remind people, no matter where you park, especially in those heavily traveled and those very crowded launch viewing areas along US 1, the Amex Brewer Bridge, on the 406, like coming off of the bridge or on the other side of the bridge, just slow down. If you're parking, pull off the road. Don't keep your vehicle on the road. That's very dangerous. Pull off the road. And also just look for pedestrians. It's going to be night, so it's going to be very dark out. We do, of course, have city street lights, but there are areas that are very dark along those viewing areas. So please be vigilant. Look for pedestrians. Look for other vehicles. Look around at all times. Put down your distracting devices. I know it's great to have your phone and you're watching everything on your phone, but put it down when you're walking, or especially when you're driving.
And maybe not wear your black Artemis shirt. Maybe wear white like Michelle has over
wear
there.
something
a little bright.
Be sensible.
Wear something reflective.
For your safety. Yeah.
We want people to. You want to be seen. It's better safe than sorry. Dress appropriately. If you are on a bicycle, a lot of people will bike over because they want to bring their car. Make sure you have a light on the front and the back of your bicycle as well, so you're seen.
Okay. How about your pets?
We like to encourage people to leave their pets at home, Michelle. Don't you think?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that it's sometimes difficult when a pet gets loose or runs out. They might get hurt. Your pets will enjoy the launch at home just as much as at the launch viewing.
They'll like it on TV better.
For real, it's just safer to keep them at home.
Yeah.
Yes.
Michelle, have you had any particular phone calls come into the office, police department? Put you on the spot there about any inquiries that people have been asking about, out of towners or locals?
I think the big thing is people want to know about traffic.
Mm-hmm.
How the traffic is going to be, because in the past launches that we've had a lot of heavy traffic. So I think that's the big question.
We're going to look at that traffic pattern.
Yes,
Here's, I got a picture of Amy with Chief Lau there.
Oh, yes.
And myself a couple years ago in the height of the COVID pandemic.
Yeah.
I believe that was the crew demo launch. Maybe
Yeah,
we had you
that
guys there
was.
for
Yeah.
in there. So
Super fun.
we appreciate what the chief does. How many years has he been the police chief here?
30 years. It's his
30?
30-year anniversary.
Is it really?
Mhm.
Wow.
It'll be 30 years in 2023. So I think it's exactly 30 years in 2023. And that's also the police department's 100-year anniversary as well.
Absolutely. And Titusville celebrating 100 years.
And it's at the Chamber of Commerce. Is 100
the
years
Chamber
as
of
well.
Commerce. Yeah, that's what it was.
So,
The city
yep,
there. So, well, great for Chief Lau. He's a good supporter of our museum, and just you don't be police chief 3 decades without, one, doing your law enforcement right, but two, just being a great community leader and involved in so many things.
He's a great asset to
Everybody
the city.
knows
He's
him.
so engaged and
Very
just
much.
grateful that he serves our city so well, and he's a great boss. Believe me, I know.
Marty Winkle's our cameraman, and Marty has 4 of his SSME engines on that SLS rocket out there. I mean, 5 of them. Yeah, correct. Yeah, 5 of them out there, as he was a launch services manager out there. Marty, how are you today? We got a question?
Yeah, I'm doing fine, thanks, Mark. Larry Puskar is asking for the launch time.
Larry Pushkar's asking for launch time. He's up there in Michigan. It is 1:04 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And for Robert Law up there in Dundee, Scotland, that'd be 06:04 GMT.
Oh yeah.
Greenwich
We're
Mean
gonna say
Time
hi to
up there.
Robert. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
he's
Robert.
up in Dundee, Scotland. He's got a big screen TV watching it on YouTube.
Awesome.
And and we've got my buddy down in Pomona, Australia. My name escapes me. In there, we got people all over the world watch us.
Wonderful.
We've got Ophelia's in Normandy, France, and you all stay tuned as we're here with Amy, Public Information Officer, and Michelle of the Police Department. We're going to have Chuck Jeffrey, our Museum Chief Operating Officer, but he's the auctioneer for our space memorabilia. Done over 20 auctions for us, and Chuck will be up here in just a few minutes, and we'll talk about Saturday's auction to raise some money and keep the doors open here.
There you go.
You know what that's all like. But here's a beautiful little meme that I pulled off your site there, Artemis I Launch Traffic Advisory. There you see behind Amy, the Titusville shield there. So this is what we want y'all to think about. Let me do it that way, Marty. probably.
Right, and these maps also are available at Titusville.com, and they're also available on all the police department and city websites, the
So,
social media
as
websites.
I go there, right above my head is the Max Brewer Bridge,
Right.
and Spaceview Park is right here, pictures we were showing
Mhm,
you.
Mhm.
And 9 miles that way is the launch pads. So tell us what your plan is to go north.
Well, if you're going to go north, they're usually going to route you north on US 1, and you're going to be probably routed over to 46. So if you're right in that area, if you're watching from the Amex Brewer Bridge or Sandpoint Park, they're going to push you north to 46 to get over if you want to head back to the west,
Right.
whether Orlando or whatever like
And
that.
that's the Sanford
Yes.
road in Mims that goes to Sanford. there.
Right.
We're down Garden to 95, and then you've got the going south on one there. What's going to be the main flow?
So there's a couple ways they're going to send you. They're going to send you south on US 1, and they might have you go over on the 405 right there to get on the 407 to go to the 528, just to route you that way, or have you go all the way up and get you on 95. So they're going to have you cut across to 95 if you want to go south to Palm Bay or Melbourne, or you can also travel on 95 either direction that way.
Okay.
So you're either going to be routed north or you're going to be routed south.
With a 1:04 a.m. launch, okay, so it launches, everybody's oohs and ahs, and we hope we're thrilled out of our minds. So 1:30 is going to be go time.
That's when it gets a little difficult. And I just want to stress too that we work a lot with other agencies and with the Florida Department of Transportation with our lights. So we have them timed. Plus, they're also manned with officers that if the light is not timed correctly or they see a shift in the traffic, they can manually switch the lights over to help keep that traffic going.
Is there anything with the Florida Highway Patrol that on 95?
We work a
special
lot with,
things in
yeah,
there?
we work with Florida Highway Patrol, and we also work a lot with the Brevard County Sheriff's Office to make sure that everything out of our city's jurisdiction is covered by those agencies.
Okay. Now, in today's world, is there a headquarters where you're monitoring all these lights?
Yeah.
There's a headquarters where you're seeing the traffic on Garden or and so forth. So it's
Right. The Florida Department of Transportation monitors that, and they have visual on that. We also have monitors in our 911 dispatch center that are monitoring all those intersections as well.
Okay. Have you talked to any of the businesses around town? Are any of them going to stay open late that you've talked to? Or
I don't know if anyone's staying open late. They are hopefully getting some impact today with people coming into town. And then we're encouraging everyone also, it's so late, stay over. Go to the movies tomorrow. Go to a restaurant tomorrow. We're encouraging people to take advantage of our wonderful city and everything that we have to offer.
be hard to find a hotel room probably in town.
It's probably
thank
pretty
God,
crowded,
but,
which is good for it's good revenue. It's good for business,
that's
and
right.
we love hosting people. It's one of our makes us special. It makes us a very special place to live.
But
so.
you could take a cat nap in your car, and then you come down to the American Space Museum at 10 o'clock in the morning when we open up. And the downtown's got a lot of nice places to eat. I mean, a lot of good home cooking, and and in there. And Marty wanted me to mention that 1:04 launch, but it is a 2-hour window. So if they have some anomalies during the launch countdown, it can go till 3:04 a.m.
That's correct.
Oh, please don't do that to us.
We're going to be so tired tomorrow.
But yeah, right. And we got the rest of the week too ahead of us. There's a lot of lot always happening this time of year. We're a week before Thanksgiving, if you can believe that. And so we're wanting everyone to be safe and sound out there, and just use your head and respect. Everybody wants to see the launch. Everybody's here to get a good seat or get a good place. There's really no bad seat anywhere because after 10 seconds, it's all up. You're looking up.
you're right.
So nobody in front of you is going to matter. All right. So be courteous to those people that have staked out early. You know, they want to get a good place. They spent half the day here. Marty, we have a question.
Yeah, Larry Puskar is asking, how far away from the launch site will the sound of the rocket be heard?
Now, that's a good question. Larry asked, how far away?
9 miles, speed of sound, and 9 miles. So how long is it going to take for a sound to travel?
Well, that'd
9
be
miles?
about a minute. But I think the big question is, will our friend like Chuck Jeffrey, who's going to be on next, if he was at home tonight in Orlando area,
That's going to be. I
would
wonder if
you
you'll be
hear
able
it?
to hear it.
Some people are thinking it can be heard from Orlando, which is 50 miles away, 60 miles away. You'll be able to see it. That's for darn sure. You'll be able to see it over in Bradenton and St.
Yeah.
Pete and all that
Mhm.
area if
Yeah.
it's clear.
Yes.
This is we've kind of got a
I
gray
know.
sky today.
I
I thought
noticed
it was going
that.
to be a sunny day today, but it's kind of a gray.
Maybe it'll clear up by tonight.
It's not gloomy when it's almost 80 degrees
I know.
out. Okay, but
Yeah.
you'd say it's a fall gloomy day if you were up in Michigan or New York or somewhere. But
I
good
would-
question,
yeah.
Larry.
Thanks, Larry. I wanted to mention just one other thing was we were talking about when you post up to watch the launch along the the river and the viewing areas along there. If there's something that's compromised, we did have 2 hurricanes that came through in the last 6 weeks, and there are some structures that are taped off and marked off for people not to get on. Please don't get on that. Don't hurt yourself. If it's compromised, it's taped off. Don't. I know it's probably a good place to view, but it's not safe, and we want you to be safe. So please avoid those areas.
And that reminds me, Amy, to don't be standing on the rip rock and all that stuff around there if you don't have a flashlight, to see where you're stepping. And we might mention that we do have a bit of wildlife around here.
We do.
So you might be hearing a growling gator around there.
Yeah, especially at night.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so watch out for that too, in there. Mosquitoes aren't too bad, but
Not as bad, and they've been spraying quite a bit since the last since Ian to control the mosquito population, and plus it's been a little cooler, so I think we'll be okay on mosquitoes. But it's not a bad idea to bring your bug repellent. Can't hurt.
so if you're coming down from Orlando, St. Augustine, coming up from the south of the area here, try to get up here early. All right, be courteous of other people. There's quite a few, business parking areas, I think, downtown that they probably wouldn't mind you parking in. If they tape them off, don't do it. So,
Right, and also if the business is closed and the signs are up that don't park there, don't park there. But if it's closed, usually that parking area is okay. So if you're not interfering on their business hours, I would usually be okay. That is private property though, so you got to remember, if you do get your vehicle towed, it's probably
and
your
the
fault.
city has a parking area right across from our museum
Yep.
here. And there's the courthouse parking lot is right around our museum here. And you just walk 3 blocks to the launch in there. So we're excited about it. Like I said earlier, I've had a good feeling it's going to launch and, make the noise and the fire and all that stuff.
It's going to be
there.
very exciting.
Amy, you, like I said, you grew up here. In fact, we were talking before you went live that she was born when Apollo 7 was launched. In 19, well, I'll let you figure out when it was. It was last.
You're dating me. No, I don't mind. Apollo 7.
So 11, but yeah, you were just a little baby. You didn't see the last night launch of a rocket of this magnitude was Apollo 17, 50 years ago,
Wow.
December 6th or 7th, I think.
And that's
is that
the
launch.
last one that went to the moon, correct?
Yes,
Yep.
the last one went to the moon. So, and here we got the Artemis rocket that's going to orbit the moon. But all this has to go right for us to put boots on the ground, a man and a woman, hopefully around 2025, 2026, something like that in there.
Looking
You
forward
think we're
to
going to
that.
do it?
Yes, sir.
I do.
Good.
I'm optimistic. I think so too. We can do anything we put our minds to it.
Yes, ma'am, we can. You're absolutely right because we're America. We
Yep.
can. If we want to do it, we can. And this Artemis has drug on too long for a lot of people.
Yeah.
We're ready
And
for it.
your husband's been involved in it, Michelle, you said. And, this is their shining moment. They put a lot of time in this. And, we're looking to get off the ground tonight there and be a spectacular day. A 2-hour launch window. All right. Remember that. And any parting shots you'd like to anybody out there coming down or watching it on TV? Are there any live cams that Larry Pusker could?
I'm not sure if there's any live cameras. I know there's a lot of homes along the river that have ring cameras, and I get some good shots there.
Yeah.
But I just want to mention that everyone just please be patient. Everyone's wanting to see it. Drive slow. Be patient. Everyone gets a little frustrated when they get caught in traffic, but it's gonna clear out. And we just want everyone to be safe. Your safety is our highest priority. Work with us and be vigilant. Look for pedestrians and have a great night. We're super excited. And thanks for having us.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Amy,
much.
so much. Amy Matthews, Michelle DeVos, thank you so much. Hope to see you ladies
Thank
again.
you.
Another launch.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Nice to
you.
meet you.
Bye, everyone.
And we're going to say goodbye to them. We're going to bring
Bye,
Chuck
thank
Jeffrey
you.
in here. So we'll be sharing some pictures with you, too.
Absolutely.
What's
Thank
going
you.
on there.
All
Thank
right.
you, Amy.
I'll talk to you guys soon. Be safe.
All right. Now we're going to pull in here Mr. Chuck Jeffrey. Hello, buddy. How are you?
Another day in a Space Coast paradise.
That's right. We are saving space history day by day, left and right. Good to see you, Mr.
Good
Jeffrey.
to see you. It's a wonderful, beautiful day out. A lot of people here. I mean, this is going to be an epic launch. We
Yeah.
haven't seen anything this big in 50 years.
No, we haven't. And the museum's full of people here. For those of you who don't know, Chuck Jeffries, our collections analyst. He's also our chief operating officer and is taking the bull by the horns to improve not only our physical appearance, but our how we're doing things here. And Chuck's, tell people how you got involved in this museum.
Well,
10
I
years ago, about
used to
right?
come here as a visitor. And I would notice that there were things that were damaged, things that were missing from the last time I was here. And I'd be, hey, where's this? Where's that? And nobody would have an idea. We don't know. And so I am in the security business. I do security alarm systems and I do surveillance cameras. So I volunteered to install surveillance cameras in the museum for free. And while I was doing my work, I went through the display cases and I started pointing out all the mislabeled items and the items that were not quite authentic. And they really thought I was a smarty, you know, one of those Mr. Know-it-alls. But at the time, the director of the museum, his name was Charlie Mars, he's like, without me knowing it, decided we're going to do a little test. So they put together a box of items from the museum without me knowing, and they called me up and they said, Chuck, we got a donation to the museum. And I said, okay, well, we'd like you to come look at it, some interesting stuff. And I said, okay. So I drive to Titusville, I come to the museum, they have this huge box in the conference room, maybe 100, 150 items, I don't remember. And I go through it and I start dividing it by this is from this program, this is an auto pen, this is a photocopy, you know, just whatever it was, lithographs, photographs. And I finish, it takes me about 15 minutes and I finish and they're like, you're right. I said, okay. No, you don't understand. We put everything in the box. You're 100% correct. You didn't make any mistakes. I said, okay. And they said, how would you like to be the collections analyst for our museum? I said, absolutely not. And they said, why? And I said, well, because I live in Orlando, you're in Titusville, and I only come occasionally. Well, we'll take a room and we'll put everything in there. And when you come, you'll have your own room. And that was 10 years ago. And so I've gone from a volunteer to doing the charity auctions to chief operating officer. And as I tell my family, I'm a little overly involved with the museum.
Well, so much so that we put this plaque to honor you, Chuck, up there. And it states there that without his efforts, this museum would probably be closed. To paraphrase that. And not only does Chuck find time to help save this museum by these important auctions that we're going to talk about here, but you've run a hell of a successful business during the whole thing too. And that's,
my contracting business has been my bread and butter for 21 years, and I'm very proud of a good and reputable company. We do what we say, and we say what we do. But it's funny because about 2.5 years after I came to the museum, they asked me to join the board of directors. And my first board of directors meeting, much to my surprise, was how to dissolve the collection, where to send it, what to do with it, and permanently close the museum. And I spoke up. I said, we've got the wrong discussion going. It's not how do we dispose of the collection and close the museum. How do we save the museum?
yeah.
And that's where our very first charity auction was born.
And and I showed up about 5 years ago and met Chuck at auction 4. And this is actually like auction 23, but we're not going to keep track of them that way anymore. And of course, fell in love with this place. It's a very interesting thing, Chuck, as you well know. Nick Enix came on the scene here, and Karan Conklin become our executive director. And we all drank the same Kool-Aid to love this place in a passionate. We're also passionate about what we're doing here because we truly believe we are saving the birth of the American space age in its delivery room, Brevard County here.
We are literally the only public space museum on the Space Coast.
Yeah,
I mean,
actually,
you have the Air Force Museum. You've
Yeah.
got a pseudo museum at the Kennedy Space Center.
and White Sands Museum.
But that's a government. That's not a
government. Yep,
public.
that's right.
And it's private, and a lot of times you can't get there. You've got to, have access. And so this is truly a gem. And I fell in love with it because the collection is amazing, and they had docents. And the docents are people who worked, and they tell their own stories, and they give you a perspective that you don't get at the Smithsonian. And I love the Smithsonian. I go there every chance I get. It's an amazing museum, either Dulles or the main one in D.C. But again, it's just not the same.
No, I first time I was here, I wrote a column on space and astronomy for 22 years, and I interviewed Karan after my tour here, and I said, "Don't be offended, but this is like the best man cave, space cave I've ever been in." And she said, "No, I'm not offended. That's what we want. They want the coziness. They wanted the interaction and so forth." I want to throw this picture up here of Ken Havicott and Chuck a couple years ago there. And these two gentlemen here have over 80 years of space memorabilia knowledge between them. And then they are tied into some of the other worldwide experts. The knowledge you two have is phenomenal, particularly Ken Havicott.
And
I wanted to mention that.
let me just mention this. Without Ken Havicott, I would have never stepped foot in this museum. I was looking for a piece of memorabilia, and Ken is a dealer, and he's probably one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet, and he is a dealer in space memorabilia. And I wanted an STS-134 Wives patch because I'm a huge Skylab 2 fan, and I've got Jack Lausma's Skylab Wives patch and his cover and so forth. But I wanted this because it's the first parody STS-134, and I called Ken and I said, "Hey man, do you know where I can get one?" He said, "Go to the Space Walk of Fame," because before we were a museum, we were a foundation, the Space Walk of Fame Foundation. And I came here, and they had the patch. It's the reason I walked in the door. So without Ken Havicott, I would have never come to this building.
And Ken's been on our board. He's a great supporter, just a tremendous guy. We're going to talk about the auction here, but we did want to, Chuck, we celebrate the space shuttle era like we feel nobody else, and particularly their birthdays. This is T.J. Kramer. Happy 56th birthday to T.J. Kramer, one-time NASA astronaut. Born in Fort Huachuca, Arizona. I forget exactly where he grew up because I forgot my sheet here, Marty, in front of me. I don't think it fell down there. My birthday may be over there. I have to wing it. Chuck, he flew one of those Soyuz spacecraft up to space. He's 56, though he's in the pumpkin suit. But he retired, and he's the only astronaut who's become a launch director. All right, and there he is, an ISS launch director on there. So that's kind of T.J. Kramer, Creamer, like the dairy creamers. All right, happy 56th birthday to you, sir. Well, we're now going to talk about this auction, and Chuck got so involved with our auctions. I mean, Chuck saw a way to help save our museum with these auctions, and he just didn't want to be the liaison of this. You went to auction school and learned how to become an auctioneer, and then that's your business, Bid Again Auctions.
The state of Florida is one of those states where everything is licensed. So you have to be licensed to do auctioneers, except if it's a charity auction. If the auction, 100% of the proceeds are for charity and no one is paid, then you don't have to have a license. You can just have your auction. So we did our first 3 auctions, and they were hugely successful, and I loved them. So I decided to go ahead and do an apprenticeship. An apprenticeship is 2 years with an auction company. So I did. Shout out to Cliff Schuler Auctions. Cliff has since passed away.
God bless him. and
Great
his
guy,
wife.
mentor of mine. And Cliff apprenticed me for 2 years to help me get my state auctioneer's license. And then I opened up my auction company, Bid Again Auctions. And I still do these charity auctions with the museum.
He was going to call it Bid Till It Hurts auction, but the Bid Again auctions is good there. And I like you're saying there, Bid Till It Hurts. And not only, to brag about Chuck Jeffrey here a minute, not only has he assembled this fine auction that we have here, it has become one of the top 5 auctions in the world
For space memorabilia.
For space memorabilia.
Yes.
You quickly put us on the map as having serious stuff. And why? Well, because just like I saw you talking to a gentleman today, we're here on the Space Coast, and the why is because of the people bringing stuff.
We have, because we do this for a small percentage, the items that come in on consignment, we take a small percentage and we do this for the families. And so we have what I like to call NASA notables, astronauts, people who were very influential in the program, come to us to liquidate their collections. And we've really had some big wigs like, Norm Carlson and Frank Marlino, who
Charlie Mars.
Safety Test Director, Charlie Mars, who was the Chief Project Engineer for Apollo. We've done for several astronauts, Jerry Ross, Bob Springer, Jack Lausma. We've done, some very, very nice, wonderful people. And we sell for them, and it helps them, and it helps us. We get a percentage. They get top dollar for their items, and they're not selling it at a yard sale, which, here's a funny story. Charlie Mars called me up. He was having a yard sale, wanted me to look through his NASA memorabilia that was going out for the yard sale. And I went over there and I looked and I said, Charlie, none of this is going for the yard sale. It's all going into auction. And he said, well, what do you think it's worth? I said, probably $20,000 or $30,000. Well, I think he got closer to $60,000.
Yeah.
He sent his family to Europe on a 30-day vacation on what would have sold for dollars at a yard sale. So if you got a collection and you want that money, come see me.
And Chuck does not charge for your collection analysts.
No, appraisals are always free, whether you want to insure it, whether you want to leave it to the kids or you want to sell it. I want you to know what you have, the historic value, the dollar value, because people will sometimes throw things in the trash. They don't realize it has a value. So you can tell your kids, your grandkids, hey, you want it, fine. If not, remember, don't throw it away.
And what impresses me, these things go to good, serious collectors. These just aren't bought and then put in a closet somewhere. Your clientele are very serious collectors that want to display these things, and I like that about it.
So right now we have a continuous following of about 1,300 to 1,400 people for every auction. We also have a registry of over 5,000 people who occasionally attend. So it's really, and it's growing. I mean, every auction, it grows more and more, and it's the consignments that are coming in. We have enough items right now to do 2 or 3 auctions without taking a consignment. At the beginning, we were begging people for consignments. So it's growing and it's wonderful, and we appreciate everybody out there that entrusts us with selling their memorabilia.
Well, let's look at some of the things that are going to be on Saturday's auction. The final bidding will start at noon. You may pre-bid right now by going to the American Space Museum website. There's a little auction tab at the top.
Or
Click that,
bidagainauctions.com.
Or go to bidagainauctions.com.
That's a cheap plug.
Yeah, go to bidagain, and that'll send you there also, okay? And I pulled off some screenshots here, some things, just as representative of things you have. And so I threw up some Mercury up there. Some of these lots, that's at lot 47, 48. A lot of things from astronaut autographs to you got a lot of original NASA photographs.
And these, I think it's lot 53, is the Mercury Atlas 9. This is Gordon Cooper's mission. And these are original photographs. These were taken on the mission. These are first run prints. These were developed right after the mission. They're very rare. They're beautiful. They're pictures of Earth, but some of the earliest Mercury pictures of Earth from orbit. I love them. I think they're beautiful.
Yeah, and photographs really sell a lot there. You got and Chuck puts an estimated value on there, which usually is true. I've done many auctions with him, and he's right on his estimates there. You've got a lot of 40 original NASA pictures there. $200. Well, 40 times $5 each is $200, people. And these were printed in 1966 or 1965 back in the day.
Absolutely. And again, a lot of it has to do with, the content desirability.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing's going to be more desirable than seeing Neil Armstrong on the surface of the moon. By the way, there is only one image with Neil Armstrong on the surface of the moon. So
that's right.
Very
outside
desirable.
of the visor shot.
Yeah.
But here's your Neil Armstrong stuff. His autograph will go for well over $1,000, depending on what it's on. Behind you, if you go back and forth, there is a rare button. Move to your the lunar. See that blue button there, folks? Lunar contact button.
And that is a representation. That button, and I'm just
you're good.
The lunar contact button is from Grumman, and it is a representation of the light on the lunar excursion module when they hit the surface. When one of those long talons that's on the bottom of the landing gear touches the surface, that is a contact light, lights up. Doesn't mean they're on the ground. They're still 2.5 feet from the ground,
Mm-hmm.
but that lets them know they've got contact, that those probes have touched the surface. And those were produced by Grumman. They're very hard to find. They're very desirable. And this one's in beautiful condition. Comes from one of the Grumman employees.
Now, it's not the button itself. It's the metal pin of the button. But you know who wired that button up? Mr. Winkle right there, lead electrical engineer.
Well, I believe...
Did you wire that up, Marty? No? Okay. All right.
The panels were done early on.
Oh, okay. Panels were shipped, done, right? Okay.
Well, the panel came down with the lunar module, and that was done up in Bethpage.
Okay.
You could have taken credit. Nobody knows.
Well, I know he combed the guillotine. That's enough for me. Okay, the important guillotine. But Neil Armstrong stuff. Just speak about the authenticity of autographs. Chuck and I did an episode a couple auctions ago where he actually shredded and tore apart forgeries. That was a lot of fun.
And I'll tell you, we do our best to authenticate everything that comes through. We want to be sure what you're buying is real. We actually had an incident 2 auctions ago where I sold an Alan Shepard autographed photograph that I thought was authentic. It turned out to be a secretarial. We issued a full refund on it, and we paid for the shipping back. And I made a mistake. I'm just real honest about that. We do everything humanly possible, but again, we're human. We stand behind what we do. If we do something wrong, we take care of it. So we want you to know that we do our best to ensure everything is exactly as described.
And when in doubt, you check with Ken Havicott. There's Mr. Zarella is a
Steve
world
Zarelli
expert.
is the foremost expert. So
that you're. We are celebrating the 53rd anniversary of the launch of the second lunar mission when we doubled down in 1969 of President Kennedy's challenge to go to the moon and landed on Apollo 12. You got some nice items at Apollo 12 there, including some Kapton foil there.
now the Kapton was left over from the mission. It was for a repair that was done on the pad. They actually have to remove foil, and so they took 2 samples or 2 repair kits with them. They only used 1 repair kit to repair the lunar module. This is from the other repair. kit, and it is authentic. It would have been used, but was not. So, but other things that are really cool, the Manned Spacecraft Center badges, which are again right behind me, very hard to come by. They're from Houston. The space pen, the Fisher space pen, they
Right
came
there.
up. Yeah, so the Fisher space pen right there.
Yeah, right there.
So the Fisher space pen was developed by the Fisher Pen Company as a pressurized pen and sold to NASA at $1.20 a pen. NASA never spent a dime on its development. That's just a myth and a rumor.
Okay.
But because NASA put in a massive order for these pens right after development, it became known as the Space Pen. And they actually changed the company name to the Fisher Space Pen Company years later. This is one that was given to the astronauts for their world tour. They would give them out to VIPs all over the world, and hey, here's a pen. It's a space pen, and they've got the engraved name of the astronaut who would have given it out. I think this is a Charles Conrad, but they've got Alan Bean, and they've got Neil Armstrong. All the astronauts had them. So everybody got them for their world tours, but they're original and they're
Worth a couple $100, right?
couple $100. Yeah, they're because they were only given to the astronauts for the world tour. They're very rare. I mean, seldom seen.
Well, we've got some items here. Is that my Apollo 13 items? Yeah, up there. And yesterday was Mr. Fred Hayes' 89th birthday, I think.
Oh my God! And I didn't say Fred Hayes is a good personal friend. He's a huge supporter of the museum.
Yeah, I forgot to drop that to you and Charlie.
And I didn't say happy birthday, and I am a bad friend. But Fred has been more than helpful, gracious. He signs items for our auctions. We support his favorite charity, which is the Infinity Science Center. You will see we sell items in every auction for the Infinity Science Center. They get 100%. The museum doesn't get a dime. It all goes for Fred Hayes' charity, and that's due to his selfless support of this organization.
Yeah, he's actually our emeritus board member. If you can't, anything you've ever heard about Mr. Fred Hayes is how nice he is. You just can't overstate it. He's just such a gentleman. I've been around him a bunch. He's just really a nice guy. One hell of an astronaut. Apollo 13 was lucky that he was on board because he knew that lunar module inside and out as the Grumman astronaut contact. It was amazing that he was on there. So
and the first man to ever fly a space shuttle.
That's right, landing it there
on the Enterprise, and he's very proud of his test flights on the Enterprise, as he should be.
We are talking with Chuck Jeffrey here about our auction coming up Saturday. Doug Forrest, artist in California, is watching. He'll be bidding on some stuff, I'm sure. Dave Stange watching in Michigan. Gary Gerald is a peanut farmer in South Carolina. His wife said he can't wait to get off that tractor and see Stay Curious at 4 o'clock every day.
Well, glad
he's up at 4 in the morning, as a farmer. Gary Gerald, thank you for supporting us, buddy. Betty Kendrick is watching. Hey, Betty. How's my grandbaby there and my daughter? Larry Pusker's watching. Carlton Bailey. He got up from his nap to watch Stay Curious today. Good for you, Carlton. He's our photography buddy. And Tom Celentano, he'll be bidding on some of this stuff. And William Whiting. Hey, William, I'll give you a call today. William's got a new condo in town where we're going to watch the launch from. Thank you for the invite, William. And Mickey Snelson. That's a new name, Marty. Mickey Snelson. Don't know if that's a girl or boy, Mickey, but thank you for staying curious today. And
hey, I wanna quickly on the Apollo 13. There is a cover that has a piece of film that was flown on the mission. Recently, the Underwood family has released all of Dick Underwood's stuff, and Dick Underwood was the man who handled, processed, and made the first copy of every single flown piece of film from Gemini all the way through to the end of Apollo. Every roll of film that was on the surface of the moon, everything that came from the sim bay, they did the spacewalks to go out and get. Dick Underwood's the man who received that, developed it, and processed it. He was probably one of the most knowledgeable film processing people in the world.
Absolutely.
And he kept the leaders, which is the section of film they feed into the camera. So they're not eating up the good film. It's just dead, material that they feed into the camera to get it ready. And then there's a little tail so that they get a good traction on the last film. The leader's much longer than the tail, but he saved them all.
Wow, that's interesting.
And so now they're coming out. There's not a lot. It's a very little material, but you will see that we are fortunate enough to be able to offer some of these in our December auction. We have some of the first Apollo 13 flown film ever auctioned. I believe this cover right here is the first Apollo 13 flown to the moon film fragment ever auctioned.
Awesome.
So
Good.
I just wanted to point that out because it is authentic, it is documented, and it is certified by the man who's working with the Underwood family on this. His name is Sandy Clarkson, a very reputable person. And this is all because I questioned the authenticity of it. I've gone through everything, and it is exactly what it is stated to be.
And that is some historic leaders of film, having processed thousands of rolls of film myself there. That's amazing that he kept those. And can you imagine developing the film from the moon and all that stuff? It was there's whole stories about that we
Well, the
won't get into,
responsibility, if you make a
yeah.
mistake, you're not going back to get more
No,
pictures.
it's believe me, I've developed
not going
thousands
to
of rolls of film, and on that roller, they could all kinds of ways it could.
We're
screw
not
up.
going to Spaceview Park, man. It's the moon.
That's right. That's right. Chuck, you just don't have. You got a lot of 3D objects in this auction that looks good. Tell us some of the things we're looking at here that you can own out there, and you can bid on it right now. Go to Bid Again Auctions website or the American Space Museum, and you can register and start bidding, pre-bidding. What are we looking at here? We got container
You got
galore.
stowage bags, stowage containers. Many of these are flown and have paperwork from GSA. This is the Government Disposal Service. Some are flight spares. They're not flown. Everything's written up in the description. But really some great items. If you're looking for like a knick-knack bag for your man room, hey, what's better than a stowage bag that flew on the space shuttle, 3 or 4 million miles, to open it up and get your cigars out of, or your playing cards or whatever. It's really a cool item.
PPK is an acronym we throw around there, and I see you have one there. What's a PPK?
Well, it's a personal preference kit. And when you fly a space mission, this is what you're given for your personal souvenirs. Whatever you can fit into this bag, you can fly in space.
How big is it, Chuck? About that big? About
Yeah,
8 by 6 or
about
something like
that
that?
big and about 2.5, 3 inches deep. And that is why most of the souvenirs you see being sold by astronauts and so forth as they age are trinkets. They're necklaces, they're pendants, they're coins, because you could put a good number of them in the bag. Your guitar didn't fit.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Although Chris Hadley flew his guitar.
Right.
People do get special exemptions for big items. People have flown musical instruments. They've flown sporting good things, I have been told they flew a gorilla suit to the ISS, a full-size gorilla suit for Halloween. But again,
Scott Kelly.
yeah, Scott Kelly.
Mark Kelly sent it to.
Yeah, okay, so I didn't ever get to confirm it with him. I said, I've been told. If it's not confirmed, I don't say it. So, but they do get clearance to fly large items. But the PPK is what most people get to fly their personal souvenirs in.
Chuck and I had enjoyed a dinner with Andy Allen a year or so ago, and he said that he had so many women in his family that wanted him to fly jewelry. They couldn't get it all in his PPK, so his commander, Lauren Shriver, remember what he said?
Yeah, gave him some of his space.
No.
Oh, gave him permission.
to tape it to his body.
Yeah.
He taped jewelry necklaces and stuff to his arms and legs, he said.
Well, and it's not common knowledge, but a lot of the astronauts found ways to get around
Yeah.
the rules for what you could fly and you couldn't fly. The problem is that if you don't have a letter from the astronauts, those items don't exist. If
Yeah,
they're not
right.
on the log.
Yeah.
And I've had even Charlie Mars had his wedding set flown by Charles Conrad, and I've got people, no, he didn't. It's not on his stowage list.
Right.
And Charles Conrad wrote a letter and drew a picture of the rings on the letter. Say, I personally flew these to the moon for Charlie Mars, and
That's
that kind of
awesome.
ended the controversy. But again, they do fly things that are not on their stowage list, the official items that they're flying.
Well, we got one other item to of course, we've got a lot of space shuttle items on there.
Always, yes.
And Europeans really buy a lot of space shuttle items, I've noticed. And you got a space flown flag there. The red, white, and blue flag there. What's that, Chuck?
That is the Mir Space Station flag, and this was actually for one of our first missions to the Mir Space Station. It's in English and Russian, and it was flown aboard the shuttle to the Mir Station. They docked, so it's been on both, and it's a beautiful flag. It's again, it's on a certificate. It's from NASA, and it's a great piece of history.
These were distributed to contractor and workers and so forth for that worked on that.
People who were involved in that mission, yes, and usually people who were influentially involved in that mission.
Well, we have enjoyed talking to Chuck Jeffrey here about our upcoming auction Saturday, and then we're going to follow it up just a couple weeks later with a very special December 3rd auction. Chuck, tell us about that. We'll have, if we don't get you back on here, I'll certainly talk about it next week.
Well, and this is our Christmas sale. This is not our normal fare. This is full of items that make great gifts for the space enthusiast. So you got the NASA nut in your family. This is the place to find them. That special one-of-a-kind gift. With Artemis launching, we have a 3-foot tall Artemis lunar lander. This has the astronauts inside at the controls. The detail is just stunning on this. We have an Artemis astronaut in his full spacesuit, made by one of the spacesuit designers. And the detail on this is stunning. I mean, right down to all of the patches, the decals. It would be considered in the past a contractor's model, but now it's not a contractor's model, it's a scale model. In the future, it will be a contractor's model, but these are just some really, really amazing items in this next auction, including the Apollo 13 flown lunar film display, which has one from all 3 of the rolls of film that were shot on that mission.
Awesome. Wow, that'll be very special. Well, first we're going to have an auction Saturday, and like I said, go to our website or Bid Again Auctions and register, and you can pre-bid. And at noon Saturday, the Chuck's gavel will fall. Now, this is going to be online only, not at the museum this Saturday. We will not have it in person here, but on December 3rd, we'll be in person.
We'll be back at the museum.
At the museum there. So, Chuck, thank you for all you do. We're going to put a picture. By the way, look at that picture of the photographers setting up their remote cameras for the Artemis launch, hopefully at 1:04 today. And what do you think? Think it's going to go? What's your gut feeling?
I think if it doesn't go, they're going to have a really, really good reason with all the scrubs, all the delays, a rollback. I really think they've gone full. They've already done their, full countdown demonstration test. They've done their full fueling. They know all their leak issues are solved. I really think we're going to fly.
Well, me too. Let's light that candle and have a big party tonight up there. All right.
I will be here.
I know you'll be here, and Yeah, I know where you're going to be. You have a good view of it too up there. So, and all of us should hear. Marty is going to go sell T-shirts. God bless him, for our museum down there at Spaceview Park. Marty, what do you think? You think it's going to go tonight?
Well, I wasn't sure, like nobody's really sure, but I'm thinking maybe it'll go this time.
Good.
Last week I would have told you I don't think so, but kind of changed my mind.
All right, all right, and we're all looking forward to they're billing it as the most powerful rocket ever built to leave the Earth, and that should make a lot of noise and a lot of fire. So we'll sit back and watch it, huh?
It just makes me think of Norm Carlson.
Yeah.
Beans are go.
Beans are go. There you go, buddy. So, well, Chuck, thank you for all you do for our museum. Thank you for being part of Stay Curious. And I thank Chuck for supporting Stay Curious as one of our board members and our chief operating officer here. Chuck knows we found a little niche with all of you out there enjoying this program, and you can help us by getting your friends to watch this program as we monetize Stay Curious on our YouTube channel, not for my benefit or Marty's or Chuck's benefit, but for the benefit of sustaining this museum. Yes. For the next decades ahead. So,
and keep in mind all of this, the auctions, the events, the T-shirts, the show, are all because we believe in this organization. We believe in preserving space history, and we want this to be around for not just us, our kids, our grandkids, our great-grandkids. This is something special. Be part of it.
Chuck, when I talk to community leaders, and like you all have me do out there as a community liaison, I tell people, you go to a museum that has a Civil War relic in it. Civil War was 1860s. That's 160 years ago. Our relics in our museum, a lot of them are over 60 years old. And I hope that in 100 years, you're looking at these relics like today we're looking at 160-year-old Civil War relics. So, and it's all up to you by supporting us, and you do. We've had a great group of people in here today, like we should, for launch day for Artemis I. So go Artemis. Marty, thank you for a great job on Streamlabs today. Do we have anything to button up over there?
Nope, we're good.
All right. Thank you all for being out there. And we'll be back tomorrow with Mikey Haddad and payloads of the shuttles of November. But we'll obviously, if it goes off in the morning, we'll be showing you some of the pictures from some of our photography friends right there, all lined up with their remote cameras. So we're going to be open at the museum here till 8 o'clock today. If you've been watching this in the area, come on down. We're going to stay open a little longer and get our share of the tourism dollars, all right, as we should.
Absolutely, and I hope they're frequenting all the business in Titusville. We got some great shops and restaurants. God, good food here. That's one thing. You come to Titusville, you don't leave hungry.
That's right. That's right. Well, on behalf of our museum, our executive director, Karan Conklin, our COO, Chuck Jeffrey here, and I'm Mark Marquette saying we can't wait to see you again to bridge the space between us. Go Artemis!